For this case study assignment, I chose to speak about one of the most remarkable business deals witnessed in today's hip hop industry. Jay-Z, who is also known as Sean Carter, is one of today's biggest hip hop artists who made a record breaking deal with Live Nation for $150 million. Live Nation is currently the world's largest concert promoter in the world and had the entire industry in shock when they announced in 2008 signing hip hop artist Jay-Z for a $150 million contract. Rolling Stone magazine stated how the agreement was that Live Nation would have to handle all of Jay-Z's future albums and touring for the next 10 years, while still allowing Jay-Z to promote his own company, Roc Nation. Live Nation's main interest was how Jay-Z was currently averaging between $1 to $1.5 million a concert per night. He usually tours for 6 to 12 months and takes a break for a year or less. So considering his clothing line and tour sales, to give a ballpark range, Jay-Z averages about $100 million a year, which will benefit Live Nation in the long run. However, besides touring, Jay-Z was also able to make a profit from certain royalties, publishing, and licensing. For instance, he recently sold his Rocawear clothing line a year ago for $204 million, and also recently became a part owner of the Brooklyn Nets. Jay-Z's bet now would have been either to continue being president and CEO of Def Jam until a better offer had presented himself, or either fund the money himself, being that he has a net worth of $500 million. As for Live Nation's bet now, they would have eventually been okay with or without Jay-Z being with them, being that U2 has alone earned them $706 million in the past 12 years from touring. Eventually they would have survived. I believe both parties benefited great from this deal. Even though Live Nation's $150 million offer may have seemed too high and risky by some, Jay-Z generates an average of $80 to $100 million a year, and I don't think they will have any trouble making their money back with profit in 10 years. Jay-Z benefited from this deal by not having to put his own money at risk, because if anything goes wrong, his bank account will not be compromised, and he is still able to gain profit from certain publishing and licensing. Even though Jay-Z has had some trial and tribulations in the past, Live Nation was great in separating the people from the problem by focusing on his success, talent, and numbers that he has produced over the years. What went well in this negotiation for Jay-Z was that even though he had enough money to start up his own record label from his own pocket, he was able to kill two birds with one stone by being able to negotiate a deal with one of the largest concert touring companies in the world, and also have them grant him a check for $150 million for using them to promote his tour, which is a win-win situation. I believe the only thing that may have been considered as a risk for Live Nation in this deal is the fact how they offer Jay-Z all of that money, being that he is almost in his mid-40s. Even though Madonna was offered $120 million, being at 54, there has still never been a rapper of his magnitude involved in a deal such as this. Who knows where Jay-Z will be 5 years from now? Will people still want to go see Jay-Z 10 years from now when he's 53? Who knows, but in this business, that's part of the gamble. The agreement was reached that Jay-Z will receive an upfront payment of $25 million, an advance of $25 million for this current tour, an additional $10 million per album, which is a 3-album minimum for their 10-year contract, an additional $20 million from certain publishing and licensing and other rights. In retrospect, Live Nation would handle all of Jay-Z's touring and help him with financing outside projects as well. I believe the agreement that was reached will foster a long-term meaningful relationship, being that both parties are both well-established brands. Over the past couple of years, Jay-Z has become the main trendsetter in the game and has also established a strong relationships with today's top celebrities. So strong that it can be enough to maybe persuade an NBA player to come play for his team, the Brooklyn Nets, or even maybe persuade an artist to come to Live Nation's touring company. Who knows? Being that Live Nation is the largest touring company in the world, and Jay-Z being such a smart businessman, I believe they would have eventually crossed paths in the future for a better opportunity. Being in today's music industry, the only way artists are generating income is by touring, and eventually Jay-Z is at a level where he can only negotiate with the best, which is currently Live Nation. This concludes my presentation.